What's going on, people? It's your boy Astro, aka the Galaxy Shogun, coming to you here today with my review for One Piece chapter 1158, titled Rocks vs. Herald. And oh my goodness, we gotta definitely talk about that cover page. I know I already posted a short and a few other things in my short review, but specifically, I think we need to take some time to really go through this Moria thing. Because according to this cover page, Yamato is at Moria's grave. Obviously, we know Moria's alive, to the best of our knowledge. He was kind of in a sticky situation on Hachinosu the last time we saw him, but Wano seems to think that he is dead, and more importantly, he is apparently a Kozuki, is in the bloodline of Oden, Momonosuke, and Sukiyaki. Whoa. I mean, I think there's a lot of crazy theories that come out, and I actually saw that somebody basically got this right on the head a few years ago. I guess some Reddit person kind of had this theory that Moria was going to be connected in this way to the Kozukis. If you're a Japanese speaker, I guess it was a little more obvious, given that I found out that Gecko is basically Kozuki. The kanjis just swapped, basically. So that's really sneaky of Oda. And Gecko Moria had a lot of connection to Wano, especially, like, he had his beef with Kaido. Kaido killed his crew, but he also had Shusui, and seemingly, his connection to Wano, now that this has kind of been revealed, it's kind of like, wow, I guess there are kind of worse and hints sparkled through this entire thing. So hats off to you, Oda. You still find a way to surprise us this deep in the story. This is kind of an insane revelation because a lot of people hate Thriller Bark. I am not one of them. I'm actually going to post a why Thriller Bark is better than you remember type video, just because I think there's a lot of misconceptions, or not even particularly misconceptions, just I think that it doesn't get the credit that it deserves. So much like Fishman Island, I actually think Thriller Bark and Fishman Island are a lot better than people give it credit for being. So that should probably come out soon, given that all this Gecko Moria Kozuki hype is coming out. Not to mention, Gecko Moria supposedly adopted Perona. And if you look at Perona, she looks a lot like Otoko. And ironically, Otoko ate a smile fruit, which causes her to only be able to show positive emotion and laugh. And then we have Perona, whose powers are negative. So, Oda, this level of foreshadowing, it's like, it's almost unbelievable, actually, in my opinion. So, I also want to address why there's a green screen behind me. I know I probably should have said that at the beginning, but I'm trying a lot of different new things for, like, how I'm going to do these reviews, so bear with me as I find something that I really like. I do have, like, a decent backdrop in, like, my actual studio room upstairs, but I live in Japan, and in the summers, it's really, really hot, and I don't have AC in that room. Central air isn't quite a thing. I do have a room with AC, but the AC unit in that room is quite loud, and for recording purposes, it's not the greatest, so I will have to figure out what to do. I know that fall is coming, so hopefully it'll become a bit cooler and I could go back to, my studio with the cool stuff in the back. But for now, I want to see what I can do with this green screen background. And excuse me if you notice the color of the couch changing a few times, because I will be doing this in different rooms as I see it fit. So anyways, that's enough about that. Supposedly, Perona could be from Wano and the sister of Otoko. We have Gecko Moria, who, again, is a Kozuki. Some people are saying for some reason that he's adopted. I'm tired of this adopted bullcrap. Like, even as we'll see further in the chapter with Garling and the kids, like, of course they're blood-related. Like, let's stop with the everyone's adopted type thing. It doesn't matter if they're blood. Like, yes, to some extent, but I don't think this is the way this is going to go. Like, Gecko Moria, or I should say Kozuki Moria, is some offshoot of the Kozuki family, perhaps Sukiyaki's brother or sister or something to that degree, okay? It doesn't mean he has to be Oden's brother or Sukiyaki's brother or something like that. They could be offshoots of the family. If you're a Naruto fan, think like the Hyuga clan, Neji's branch versus Hinata's branch, something to that degree, right? But I think it's pretty cool that Moria came back to defend Wano. A lot of people are calling out Oden for, deciding to see the One Piece over kind of saving Wano, and he definitely could have saved the island a lot of stress if he just attacked earlier or even came home earlier, but it is what it is. I mean, definitely Gecko Moria stocks are going up at this point, which, again, I'm a fan of because, unlike a lot of people, and you could go back in my videos, I'm not just riding the hype train here, Gecko Moria is a character that I actually respect much more than the average One Piece fan. So that's enough of that. I mean, that one cover page grave of Kozuki Moria arguably is getting more attention than anything else in this chapter. This chapter is pretty simple otherwise. At the beginning, we got Roger talking to his crew, lamenting over the fact that Shaki is no longer the head of the Kuja Pirate. She has retired, and someone on his crew has figured out that she's opened up a bar on Hachinosu. We see that before that, or I should say the last time that they met, she actually gave Rayleigh a note saying, "Come make me yours." Now, it's unclear what the official will say, because I am recording this. I guess the official's technically out, so I should just check. But, you know, based on the scanlations, "Come make me yours" is it's pretty direct, and Roger interprets it as a love message, which I'd probably go further than that. But to keep this, you know, not too adult-oriented, let's just call it a love letter. Sounds more like a booty call. but aside from that, you know, it's pretty clear that Shaki's really into Rayleigh, and, you know, you can't really... How could you not get the point from a letter like that? So Rayleigh, you know, his initial response to Shaki, like, winking at him was kind of confusion. But we see in this chapter, he's actually, like, also attracted to her. But perhaps his relationship with Roger is what kind of keeps him, you know, bro code, I guess, in a sense. Some people follow that. Some people are snakes and don't care. But Rayleigh is a man of class and principle. So he knows his best buddy is into her and maybe is letting that take a back seat given, you know, how interesting the situation is for them at the moment. So Roger decides to go to Hachinosu. There's a huge line outside. Roger takes them all out. However, it's important to note, as soon as you get into the ripoff bar, which, man, is that name true? The way that she's finessing cheap rum, like, it's like going clubbing in, like, a major city, or like Toronto, where I'm from. Like, they're really seeing some common, very familiar things going on in that bar. Regardless, Shaki's using her appeal to her advantage, making a bunch of money, and Roger barges in. Roger barges in, Rox is there. We see Roger and Rox for the first time kind of interacting. I think this is the first time on panel we see them speaking. We also see a young Big Mom and Roger interacting as well, which is really, really interesting. I believe Roger also wanted to drink with Whitebeard, and Whitebeard kind of said, "You guys are pretty annoying. I'm out of here." So it's funny, Whitebeard is just kind of, you know, not down for the antics of the Roger Pirates. More importantly, in this scene, we find out that Rox actually seemingly has found somebody else. So he's not super interested or interested at all in Shaki anymore. And Shaki calls him out saying that she's sad. Shaki's kind of a flirt. Like, it's one thing if just, like, all these dudes, like, are just, like, hitting on her and in love with her. But she knows how to play the game. Let's say that. She knows how to use her assets. So I like that she's playful with even no-name random pirates in the bar. Like, she kind of is flirtatious because ultimately she knows that's where the money's at, I guess. So, you know, we get those revelations, Roger and Rox, all that cool stuff. It's fun to see. And, you know, immediately after that, we go to the next part of the chapter where we see, you know, Garling talking to the Gorosei. So I think actually what comes before Garling talking to the Gorosei is the whole title of the chapter, Rox versus Herald. Herald decides to be a bit of a snake. Which, honestly, I understand why he's going to take that. He wants to do it for the betterment of his country. But then again, Rox has been his friend, so to kind of betray him and try and kill him, I don't like that. I think that's ratty. I think that Herald is kind of a bitch for that. I don't really have another word to use. Like, it's kind of a bitch move. So they're not friends anymore. There's not much to say about this clash. It's kind of like it's a even draw, but it doesn't seem like Rox was particularly trying to kill him. Supposedly they will meet one more time before Herald's demise, whether that be actually during Herald's demise or, I don't know, sometime prior to God Valley, since it seems that we are actually going to get this flashback, which is great. Like, if it stops, like, next chapter, right before the actual just events of God Valley, I'm going to go, Oda, please, like, why are we doing this? But it seems, fingers crossed, like we are actually going to get God Valley in the next chapter, since there's no break. I guess that would be this week. So that's pretty exciting stuff. But anyways, Herald and Rox are no longer friends. Womp womp. Herald sold out to the government, and of course, you know, he doesn't want to align with Rox, because he'd have to basically make Elbaf the enemy of the government, and he probably understands, as, you know, reprehensible as the Gorosei is, or not the Gorosei in particular, but even though the Gorosei are pretty bad, especially Saturn God. But, you know, the Celestial Dragons in general, it seems that he has a good idea of, you know, how decrepit they are. But he decides, hey, you know what? Being a pirate and being the enemy of the world government, my people are probably going to have a worse life if I do that. So, as much as I want to call Herald a rat, I guess his logic does make sense, but he still sold out his friend, so I'm like, you know, that's down in the stocks for me personally. So, anyways, that clash happens, and Loki's crying, and he talks to Lita. He finally is a little vulnerable. She makes him some juice, which again, a lot of people think that Lita or Lita, whatever, is Gosa, the person that he's talking to on the Den Mushi, and I can see that happening. Which the only thing with that is it brings up the question like, where is she if that is the case? So, yeah. So the last part of the chapter, which I talked about a little before, is that Garling mentions to the Gorosei that he was on God Valley and he discovered something amazing. He actually tried to get God Valley to join the world government. Whether that be because he knocked up a certain, like, red-haired hot mom of Shanks and Shamrock, we'll see. We see, obviously Shanks and Shamrock as babies, so they're born at this point in the story, and we're getting to about, I think it says a year before God Valley, so he's proposing that the next human hunting, gross, celestial dragons, competition should be on God Valley. It's confusing if he has a relationship with this person. Originally, some people were thinking, again, that he's not even going to be related to Shanks and Shamrock based on the way he worded this, but I think appearance-wise, it seems pretty clear that he is related, and obviously, we saw when Shanks was talking to Scopper that he also has the Holy Knight symbol thing on the arm that got chomped off. So I think it's pretty clear that Garling is the biological father, but the relationship between Garling and this human, it's confusing because if she is a regular human, like, she seems to be there and not in chains and not a slave and not taken to marry Joel. So, something I noticed about God Valley is that there's two sides. Like, there's one peak, and this kind of like a railgun or like a, what is that in Halo? Like the energy sword, like, this there, nothing in the middle, right? Could that signify, like, because obviously we know Shanks is the child of prophecy based on what Scopper said a few chapters ago. Could one side be, like, good and Shanks, and one side be, like, bad and Shamrock? Or not even good and bad, because, that's a very controversial thing to say in a story like One Piece. What's good and what's bad, right? Could it be one side versus the other, like twins being born, both of them are of prophecy? Could it be possible that just one twin is the prophesized one? It seems that God Valley likely, and this is mine, so I'm writing my name on this theory, God Valley likely had some sort of prophecy related to the Void Century, or even before that, where there would be twins born, maybe even twins with red hair, which could be the reason that Garling took Shanks's mother as his bride, or whatever the situation is. We know how celestial dragons get down. So, that is basically the chapter. I know I talked a lot about the Moria stuff, and the chapter otherwise was great. I think I like chapters where it's pretty straightforward and it progresses the plot. This is one of the ones that really progress things, and it's not too much to have to digest. The biggest thing to digest is really the Moria thing, and that wasn't actually, like, in the chapter, so let me know if I left anything out. Let me know your thoughts on the chapter. What would you rate it? Do you think Gecko Moria is related by blood, like biologically, to the Gozuki? I'll pose the same question for Garling, Shanks, and Shamrock. What do you think the deal is with the mom? Do you think the mom has some secret power? I've seen some people throwing around maybe there's some sort of ancient weapon type situation on God Valley, Uranus. Who knows? Maybe that's where Uranus lies. But whoa, the more I think about that, maybe that was like how Emil got Uranus. Like, if Uranus is what wiped out Lelucia, and it was being stored on God Valley, maybe that is the reason. Maybe that is the reason that Emil got it. Like, they all went on a mission to retrieve the ancient weapon, and though Zebek died, the government also took another W in the way of getting that ancient weapon, perhaps, and maybe Shanks' mother was the guardian of this. There's definitely going to be some lore with Shanks' mother, and I think it's going to have something to do with the red hair. I just feel that definitely coming back in some way. So anyways, it's been your boy, Astro, aka the Galaxy Shogun. If you made it to the end of this review, I really appreciate you. Would really like to make it to 2K subs, and ultimately a lot more than that by the end of the year. So I really appreciate those that sit down to watch the entire review, and sorry if the green screen looked goofy. I am trying out a lot of things, so some will be hits and some will be misses. Anyways, it's been your boy. I'll catch you later. Peace out, everyone.